How many folks know how many companies were at the first SEMA show, which was under the bleachers at Dodger Stadium in 1963? Come on,
people have all died, John.
13 companies started SEMA under the bleachers at Dodger Stadium, 1963. Pretty close to Galpin time, right? 13. They're all still members of SEMA as well. Now it's up to about 7,000 members. Second thing, SEMA is the largest gathering of small businesses in the U.S. And that's the point I think that Aaron really made. It's the grassroots. It is you called me underdogs? I love that. That is what SEMA is all about. It is the mom and pop shop. 60% of the SEMA companies are what we would call mom and pop shops. And I mean that very respectfully, because about 60% of the GDP, the gross domestic product of the U.S., is private companies. It's not the large, big dogs. I think I saw some great cartoons that I think we can put other acronyms on there. I think that's great stuff. So, but now, again, this is the fun time. So if you have any questions, get them ready. Please use the microphone. Just raise your hand and go up there. But I want to start off with some of the common denominators among you guys. Again, I think we got Paul coming from it from almost a scientific perspective, because that's what the auto companies come to Clemson for and say, give us a Gen Y car. I think you called it Gen Z, right? I can see how Specialized, Gen Z, Galpin, and Agenda can come together for that. Why don't you elaborate? Just jump in again. Don't be polite. We got a good 15 minutes for Q&A. I want to know what's on your minds, and I think they want to know what's on your minds. How does that relate to SEMA, et cetera? And how do you blend Gen Z and some of the ideas we saw?
I think it's unbelievable. I learned so much just sitting here. I mean, what a great opportunity to get you guys together and see what you do and see how we maybe one day could work together. But just the great thing for me, being in the industry I am, to come here and just, it's such an eye-opener to see so many different things. We come here and we look at the color and graphics, we look at paint applications, and we just look at the creativity. We always leave here so inspired to get out of the bicycle industry and into the automotive industry.
Yeah.
So I have a resume if anybody needs one.
I think there's probably a studio in Galpin that they'd love to have you come down and visit, and vice versa. Go up to Specialized.
I was just so glad to see, talking about really Generation Z or whatever you want to call it. I think it's been overgeneralized saying, okay, they don't really care about cars. They're not really interested. I think it's more economic, than anything. And we don't have something. And But I think once we can break down some of those barriers, for me it's all about listening. We need to listen to people. What is it that makes them tick, what they want? And that's what everything that you're doing. It's just gathering what they're really interested in. That's what we should be building towards.
Yeah.
So I think it's right on. I
love it. I mean, Aaron, you mentioned your filtering of companies. When these brands come to you and say they want to come to the Agenda Show, if they're not real, if they're not authentic, and they don't fit your persona, they're not getting in, right? How do you politely tell them, or tell them to go?
I try not to. I usually don't take it too well, And I think, actually watching the Specialized presentation and the Galpin presentation, the heritage that they have and the authenticity, that's what we're looking for in our brands. That was really inspiring to see, and that's real stuff right there that you can't fake. And when you see someone come in and try to fake it, it's very obvious.
Yep.
And that's what we're really looking for in Agenda, is authentic heritage brands that really mean something, they stand for something, and they aren't just in it to make a quick buck. And that's one of the main things we're looking for.
That's very powerful. And really, all SEMA is your platform. You said it well, the venue. Creating a venue for the people to come together to buy and sell. And part of this program we put together here is to learn. We want to bring you those insights to help you continue to grow. And again, do what you do as a SEMA member. That's what this is all about. Any questions from the audience? I got plenty of them, but I want to hear from you. Here we go.
Question. My observation is that I'm an old guy, and most of the people I see around are old guys, especially when I go to car shows, stuff like that, go to the auctions in Phoenix. Everybody's, I look at this guy's trade show and everybody's under 25, whereas here we're all over 45 or 55, And I think what's happened is that the industry is turning from a do-it-yourself when I got into it, and I was mentored into it by my father because we could work on the car. And that's what we did. We didn't go to the dealer, or we fixed it. Today, you open the hood and you're terrified. Because I say when I look around, at least in the hot rod side, which I'm on, I'm an old retired car builder who still does it because people know I can do it. But I don't see the young people in it. I see it now. It's transforming from a do-it-yourself to a buy-it. It's kind of, the $10,000 paint job. I look at some of this engineering out here, and you got to have a plasma computer to design it's incredible stuff, but you can't do it yourself. You really got to hire somebody who knows what they're doing. And I just want your thoughts on our transition. It's not going to affect me. As I always say to my daughter, not in my lifetime anyway. It's all going to fall apart, et cetera. But your thoughts on this transition from kind of a do-it-yourself industry. I was talking with Vic Elbrock, to now a buy-it industry. I'm from Northern California. We have Hot August Nights in Reno, and I argued for years they ought to make two distinctions: the guys who work on their own cars and the guys who buy the cars. Yeah. And nobody wants, because everybody's buying them now, so they're not too interested in us, those of us who actually work on them. But your observations on how the industry is making, or how we engineer or market or whatever the right word is, what I see is the transition from the do-it-yourselfer to the buyer, the person who goes out and buys a product, that has it installed, enjoys it perhaps, but doesn't enjoy the process.
Yeah, great question. And again, that's what we're trying to do. What's the next generation of SEMA? I'll call it old school and new school, and you are an important demographic. You have first-time buyers, you have last-time buyers. And there's got to be a product for you. I mean, basically, no pun intended there. But you got folks that want to work on it. Part of Clemson, the agreement with Clemson and SEMA was not just what we can learn from Clemson, but educating the students at Clemson about the performance aftermarket, so that they want to come. 15 graduates, I think, Paul, have already gone into performance aftermarket companies. We had them up here. We had the next gen racers and engineers here yesterday, what they are putting into cars and what the racers wanted to put in the cars from the young engineers. There's 7 of them back here, talking to them from around the world. But let's go back to that question. Do-it-yourselfers to there. Let's start. Paul, we'll do it in order.
I believe that we are in a transition phase. And what we have not seen here too much is what we call digital customization. I mean, our Generation Z is really into digital media. And wouldn't it be wonderful if you could actually customize your vehicle just with data? I mean, we see that 3D printing becomes very affordable. What if in a couple of years you actually just buy the model of a part, of a customization part, you go to Kinko's, print it out, put it on your car. It's a whole new business model. What if your dashboard is this one big screen?
Anybody need a water?
And not just a typical screen, it's just a plasma foil, and you can just say whatever you want on it. So that's something we haven't seen here, but I think there is a huge market for that. If the OEMs would open a little bit to allow us to do that. And that's the challenge, is letting some of that legacy go and open your architecture to have others and co-create as part of that and create that experience. That's still missing.
I think if Bo would have asked Ford if they could put a fireplace in a Madame Frenchie van, they probably would have said no, right? Yeah. What are your other comments? Come on.
I think for me, the first observation is the demographic here is I don't see any young people, and I think that has to be very alarming for this industry. Yes. I know for the bike industry, we did some trend analysis a few years back, and we found out that we weren't talking to women, we weren't talking to the youth, and it kind of really hit home because every time that we heard an ambulance, we go, oh, there goes one of our customers. And I think it's kind of the same way here. It's like we have to do things, whether it's in the bicycle industry or in this industry, to really attract youth and women. If I look around, it's a lot of old white guys, and I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest turning point for any industry now is how to talk to the youth. And your presentation was so enlightening. And I think about our brand, and we have a long ways to go. We're very irreverent, but we also have to always reinvent ourselves.
So maybe ASR was a bunch of old white guys, right?
Possibly.
What do you think, Bo?
Well, it's a serious issue, and I think Robert was right when he was talking about working with his hands and how that was so important to him. And I don't think that there's enough emphasis put on that anymore and how valuable that actually is. And unfortunately, I'm not one that does work with my hands. And if I had to do everything over again, I said at the dealership, that's one thing I would have changed. And I think in today's society, we look at that as a secondary position rather than a primary, and I think that's absolutely wrong. And I think it's going to be economic driven. They're going to realize that there's only so many computer jobs out there. Playing with an iPad or doing all these things, it can only go so far. Who's going to keep these vehicles running? You talk about all these classic cars that we have here. There is a true challenge and a need there. Finding good technicians these days in the dealerships has become more and more challenging.
I'll bet, yeah.
And I think we've got to start bringing more of that into the spotlight. And hopefully places like SEMA will show the guys, and we try to really show the team, because we've got a lot of young guys that work with us. And these are the guys that we look towards for ideas. Actually, graduate of Pasadena Art Center, there is so much there. But I think it's just really, for me, about changing attitudes towards what it's like to actually do the work yourself. And I think more and more that people are going to discover that there is a great satisfaction that comes from that. But it's gonna take time. I don't know.
It's really amazing when, like I have a lot of young designers, and they're so digitally savvy, and when they get down to the shop for the first time and actually make something with their hands, it's like a light goes on, and it's like,
that's deep orange.
For us old guys, it's just the way we always did it.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how things come back around, and how that balance of having that digital side and the hands-on side, I think is really a recipe for success for our brand.
So the book smarts and the street smarts coming together.
Yep.
I think, Aaron, and by the way, that was a fantastic question. So you get all the points. Absolutely. How would a brand like Galpin or Specialized, would they fit? One question: would they fit through your filter? Would they get into the agenda show?
Absolutely.
Okay. I saw you good there.
Maybe he's intimidated.
And so, with all the cool stuff that galvanizing and specializing and what Clemson's building and trying to help the car companies make cool stuff, how does a car fit into a lot of the folks that you know personally, their brands, Obey, like Shepard Fairey, people like that? How does a car fit into their life?
I mean, the people that I work closely with, car culture and motorcycle culture is a big part of it. To answer his question specifically, for our industry, you look at that video, you did see a lot of young people. The barrier for entry in our industry to buy a skateboard is $50 or $100, right? So you can get in it a lot easier. And there is a little bit of a sad part for my generation that, a couple weeks ago, they came out with this Grand Theft Auto video game and, sold 800 million in one day. These people would rather sit inside and drive on a computer on their Xbox than actually go outside and do something. And, there is a big disconnect of my generation. I'm 30 years old, of kids being actually a little bit lazy and disconnected. You're saying they, go do something with their hands is actually foreign to them. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I lost exactly what your question was. I was answering that one. But
how does a car fit into their lifestyle? They got the surf, skate, moto, snow that
I think it's a huge part of it. From my industry, it ranges from, you got the surf guys, who it's actually a functional piece. They need, a car that can have their boards and racks, and these guys are going out there on the roads in Mexico and doing stuff, to, the streetwear and sneaker guys who have anything from a Ferrari or a tricked out Mercedes. It's really something that fully aligns, and the car really says about who they are and completes that picture of their lifestyle, as much as a surfboard or a skateboard does. And, for me, I got old cars, but everyone's, got something, and it just really connects with
But a car still fits into that agenda lifestyle.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of it.
That's something worth knowing. And again, how do you do it? You go to someone like you, Bo, right? You've done lifestyle vehicles, right?
Absolutely.
Lots of them. And I think that's what's great. Any comments? I mean...
even you could look at, Ken Block. He was the founder of DC Shoes. It's one of the biggest action sports brands in the world. What he's doing with the rallycross stuff and everything is huge, And I think hopefully he's inspiring a generation of these younger kids to get involved with, actually working on cars and, all the stuff he's doing with Ford. I think that could really be a tipping point to actually get people back engaged and get the younger generation involved.
Cool. So the creativity and all these halls and everything going back and forth, and you're obviously looking for ideas. I know that's why you come, Robert, and we hooked up. And obviously, Bo, I mean, you've got stuff here and getting a reaction to the stuff you build, right?
it's fun.
Some of the vehicles you talk about, and right after this, I would highly recommend you go out to the Galpin booth out there, out by Ford out front, right?
That's great. Right at the track.
And again, kind of elaborate. You showed the 4-engine vehicle out there.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that someone did that and you've got it there, the reaction, you
And
got
it
to be
runs.
following that, right? And it runs.
That's it.
But I mean, what are you looking for with the reaction of some of those vehicles out there?
You know, I think you talked about designing for the customers, and that's what a lot of what we were doing, for other companies is really looking for what they want. When we do things for ourselves, like the hot rod, that one was for us. We wanted to build something that we're going to absolutely fall in love with, and we can be proud of, and we show up, we beam with pride, because this is what our team was able to build and do.
To take your interpretation of something and get a reaction to it.
And you get both spectrums. You get
Yeah.
I personally like a little bit of that, hate it or love it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's boring.
Yeah.
If it's good, to me, that is the worst thing that it could be, because to me it should be great and fantastic, or it should cause controversy, and people hate it. Because I think that to me is typically what makes things interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it makes great design. Sometimes like the best designs, when they first come out, people freak out, and the traditionalists hate it. But then it starts catching on, and then you start saying that becomes like your cycle you were talking about.
It's got to be
That
polarizing.
is what makes it fun.
Yeah, it's got to be polarizing. You saw the radar charts that Paul showed, and it showed that literally it has to polarize people. That's what Agenda did to ASR, polarize people, right? Innovate or die, right?
Yeah, I mean that's we have a motto at Specialized: "Good is the enemy of great."
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've done a lot of concept bikes, and it's really to get people to dream.
Yeah.
Get people to
And
dream.
the reason that I've always done those bikes is, as you can see in our industry, like on that Aero helmet, everything has to be just so.
Yeah.
And it's a committee that comes together to really make something fantastic. But when you personally can do something on your own, you don't give a crap what anybody thinks about it.
Exactly,
And I
it's
think
you.
There's a certain freshness and there's a certain energy you get from that as a creative person that who the fuck cares what you do?
Exactly. Well, exactly. We got a gentleman out
It's
here
really
that,
liberating.
showing a really cool 59 link volt that's having a great time. Another question.
No, I was going to say the rat rod may be a reaction to that, where it's kind of an anti-custom
Right.
car.
Yeah.
But think about it this way, as I see it. I mean, it's like the industry is moving in the same direction racing has moved. My dad and I started with jalopies. We got priced out of that. We got into drag racing. I went 125 miles an hour in Orange County. It was a local hero. Today, if you can't go 300, we got priced out of that. We even got into go-karts, $150, a father-son, a father-daughter could have a great time in a parking lot. We got priced out of that. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is people don't want to build a car today because they can't compete with the guy who's got $100,000 invested. You go to a car show and you're embarrassed.
Bingo.
So I think the industry is facing, like it or not, or however, until the rest of us die off, the do-it-yourself end of it is it's really a buy it, as I see it, future for this thing. I mean, the guys who got the shops. I mean, look at the TV shows. It's all about swapping. Buy something, and then sell it for a lot of money. The auctions. Can we keep up those prices on muscle cars when we die? I mean, when the people that are buying them are the ones who couldn't afford them when they were kids. Now they're successful doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs. So they can afford to spend $80,000 or 120 for a car.
I think the muscle car is going to completely die. It's going to be all about the muscle bicycle.
Well, maybe the museums. I just did the hot rod tour, and we stopped at these shops, and they're building unbelievable stuff. I mean, $1 million build a car from scratch.
Yeah.
The hot rod shops I used to go to, everybody was greasy and everybody, they were trying to go to the drags on Sunday, get the car ready to go racing or something, and all that.
Okay, that's your question quota. Okay,
that's all gone.
That's your question quota.
But it's true. It used to be,
but damn good points.
Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Sell all week.
You could actually associate what was in the race with the cars that you were buying, and today they're completely irrelevant. And to me, that's what has made racing uninteresting now.
Yeah, great.
Although there's some great racers out there and great teams, and it's about the driver, not the car.
And you got to jump over stuff, and you got to crash. I mean, look at what's going on in the parking lot out here.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to go to Ascot and watch motorcycles on a flat track, and everybody was excited.
Yeah.
You couldn't draw 100 people for that now.
Yeah.
But boy, the X Games, over the top. You know,
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely. Well, this is the X Games for Auto right here. So, okay, final round of questions. This is for all the points. All the points. You've done this, Bo. If you win, you get invited back. So, the crazy ones, the round pegs, and the square holes. Final comment. Any final comments for anybody? What do you want to say to this audience? And then I got one last question. Paul, any comments?
I think we should give the youth the opportunity to explore. Especially this car industry is way too controlled for them to try things out, to fail. And we should give them the opportunity. That's what I'm giving my students, the opportunity. Give them the opportunity to dream. I might crush some of them because they're impossible.
Yep.
But if we don't allow them to do that, then it will never happen.
Robert.
I would hope that everybody here can take somebody that's young under their wing and really show them what you know. There's so much knowledge out here, and my fear is that it just gets untapped.
Untapped. So give the opportunity. I like that. Bo.
I'd like to say thank you, John. You know, putting together something like this with these guys that are fascinating, and really, I really love their presentations, and I learned a lot listening to you about bicycles, and I had no idea what you did there in this show. Like, how did I not know about this show? So it's I want to thank you for putting this kind of eclectic group together. I think it made it very interesting.
Well, thank you.
I would definitely second that.
Well, thanks.
And the best, you guys all know the best cycling brand in the world, right? Specialized.
Now we do.
Now
we do.
Specializing is the verb now. But thank you. As I said, like old guys like me, you know, from Steve Jobs, I learned I got a lot of dots to connect. You guys are 4 more dots to connect. Aaron, final. What are your reactions?
Thank you again for putting it together, and yeah, that's it. It's really, I learned a lot, and my first time at SEMA is an amazing show. I had a great time. I saw a lot of amazing cars.
And it's great to have it, because I would think some people would say 30. You are the young ones here. So it's all relative. It's all relative. Okay, final question. We'll start with you, Aaron. What's in your garage? What's your favorite car, bike, toy, boat? What do you got? What's your toy?
I'm building right now a 70 Chevelle. It was supposed to make it here to the show. Didn't make it. I have a 68. That's really nice. Every day I drive a BMW M6, the 4-door one. And I also have a Z8.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I got.
Very cool.
I only have one car that I own. My 1965 Mercedes 220 SE that my grandmother willed me. And it was the first car I customized.
And you still have it, and you drive.
Still have it. Yes.
That's your daily driver?
No.
Oh, okay. That's all one car you own. You got the museum.
The best part, hey, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I can just say, that's that one.
Yeah.
I take it home. It's, what could be better than that?
I have a Daytona Coupe, and I'm restoring 2 vehicles. I have a 2002 1974 that I'm making into a boy racer with a full cage, fender flares, hopped up motor. And then I'm restoring a Honda Dream, which is a 1965 Honda 305cc, very sculptural, beautiful motorcycle.
I think we could fit Aaron's car and that bike in the VTC next year.
I think so.
I think we could. We got the electric bike. We got Neil Young's Linkful. That'll fit in. Certainly something galvanized. Got to be there. Paul, what's your...
I got everything that's #1 on the charts. So, something that's distinctive, sporty, and youthful, and very polarizing. So I drive a Porsche Panamera.
Porsche Panamera. Oh, that comes with a harbor master's license, doesn't it? Anyway, well, thank you all very much. This has been. I want to thank you, Paul. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Aaron. This is fantastic.
Thank you.